Because with Zoom, there's about 42 other more buttons that I got to remember to click. Oh boy. All right. Happy Monday, everyone. And welcome to Patriot Crusader Mission's Christian Warrior Talk, episode number 38. Boy, do we have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. There's some stuff that's got me fired up. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to show it to you, because tonight we're doing an interview with a special friend of ours. We're trying to bring in more of you guys into the program. So we've got a really tight knit community. You guys mean the world to us. Hey, John, can you hear me now?
Yes, he has said now sound, and I verified. We're good on sound. We're doing it through Zoom tonight because of someone calling in. So just slightly different getting off the ground for the evening.
Yeah. So we're just trying to make sure that you guys are getting everything that I want you to. And I'm wondering, I wonder if they can hear that now with this. Can you guys hear the music? I just want to know if you can hear the music, because if you can hear the music, I'll be able to do the videos. It's going to be some lag. Hey, Brandy. Hey, Scott. Good to hear it. Good to see you, brother. It's been a while.
Yes.
You can hear the music?
Yes.
All right, great. So we are going to be able to do this. All right. Awesome. All right. So, Lauren, what are we covering tonight?
All right. So one of the things that has Jason fired up is he has a new, well, no one's more favorite than Ken Graves, but a close second pastor outside of the Nashville area. And
hey, Jordan, good to see you.
He's just about as hard hitting as Ken is. And he went off yesterday in his sermon about pastors. And so Jason's titled the segment Pastor Wars, but just the legit pastors versus the less.
Yeah.
The lesser legit
pastoral
pastors.
cowardice was his. He did a 6-minute rant. I'm going to play it for you. It is epic. It's one for the ages. And he's supposed to be dropping like what he calls a full nuclear rant today on Facebook.
Yeah, Jason's been
I've been like refreshing on the screen wanting more. This guy, man, he's from the South, so he's different than what he's from Tennessee. And
I'm doing the rest of the topics,
sorry,
right? Save all of this for.
All right, sorry.
Okay, all right. And then we put out 2 articles today that we want to talk about in a little bit more detail. Both are they'll make your blood boil for different reasons. One is an absolutely sickening account of what the CCP China is doing to people of faith over there. We've talked some about the camps that the Uyghurs of Muslim faith are in, and this was just an article that gave some detail about what those people are enduring in the name of faith over in China. And then there is another article, and this was an article. He was interviewed on Fox, but this was a different article that referenced it as well, by Tucker, a student at a university who was banned from his Christian class for saying that there was only 2 genders. And then Jason has a little bit of a new series of this versus that, kind of how to be your Christian warrior versus what is perceived as a Christian. And tonight we're going to be talking about situational awareness real quick. And then our special guest interview, Sarah Conway, a good friend of ours and a fantastic mother. And we're just going to be talking to her to give me some guidance, us all some guidance about raising kids in secular society.
Yeah,
she's killing it.
How to raise strong, Christian children in a secular school system.
Yeah.
So again, it can be done with super moms out there. Happy International Women's Day.
Yes, Jason's so pleased with himself today.
So I don't know if you guys have looked, but on all of our social media pages there, I made a great meme. Let me see.
I came downstairs and he was giggling to himself.
I'm a funny dude.
Funny dude.
And the greatest thing is only smart people are going to catch this, which means maybe that's why it's not getting all the buzz that I wanted.
He was certain it would be his viral moment.
I thought for sure.
I guess he needed to spell it out a little bit more. A picture of an apple is not obvious enough.
Yeah.
Us Christians, we just don't have the right sense of humor for this picture.
Well, typically we have no sense of humor. So I'm going to show you this. If you guys can see, it's that little.
So it's a picture of an apple. And I read what it says.
And here's what it says. And I got permission from the missus to do this. She thought it was funny. Lauren's smart
blessed by Eve
as anyone, and she came down here and she was laughing.
I giggled too.
So, on this National Women's Day, I would like to thank all women for everything they have done. And it's a picture of a big apple.
So nice little throw us ladies out of the bus for our Mother Eve.
And then here we go. Happy International Women's Day. We cannot do anything without you, including finding the car keys. Thank you, Lauren Perry, for being the greatest person I have ever known. I love you. Now on to the comedy. Women making bad decisions since day one. Happy Women's Day.
He thinks he's so funny.
Oh man!
He was sure it was gonna go everywhere, and I don't know. Christians don't have a great sense of humor, so
yeah, they have like no sense of humor.
People who do have a sense of humor, they just didn't put the dots together about Apple.
The funny ones
People are like, "Is it a teacher?
Is it a teacher's thing?" And I'm like, "Come on, man!"
You did have a snake in there or something too.
I should have put the caption, making bad decisions since day one around the apple.
Yeah.
So
Did you get it?
So anyways,
but he was also really upset. He was like, why do women get a day?
Yeah, why do women get a day? Women live longer. Like, they have a lower suicide rate, lower murder rate. They don't go off to war to die, and nearly at the highest rate that we have. They what? I mean,
I said we had our moment of suffrage, and so now we get a day to celebrate it. And I said, so now white men especially, getting all oppressed, and Jason has his rant about that too. So I said, you guys are working on getting your own day.
Yeah. So I mean, I was just anyways.
So guys, do you guys think that you need a day or a month?
No, you know why? Because we're not babies. We're not going to ask for anything. We just keep trucking on, saving the world like we've always done.
Like you always done. Just here, pat on the back.
Hey, it's all good. Just another day being a guy.
Oh, poor you.
Oh, I don't know how you put up with me. All right, so let's get into this, and I called it Pastor Wars. Greg Locke out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's in a what's it called? Global Vision, Global something church. It's a weird name of a church. He's in this giant tent, and he's on the east side. He's an eastern suburb of Nashville, and this guy's on fire, guys. And
Jason's thinking about moving closer to Nashville. Just to have that's the new destination.
It's not the new destination. I've learned to let the Lord dictate where we go. So,
and if the Lord wants him to have a fiery pastor, he knows where to find it.
It'll just mean that we won't find any place in the mountains where I really want to be, where the weather's cooler, or if I'm supposed to go there. I think we're kind of supposed to do our own thing, babe. I think we're supposed to, you and me charging out there, do our own thing. Just saying.
Like church?
Someday. Oh
man.
Hopefully,
you guys want to come to Jason Perry's church?
Oh man, we'll be rocking out.
Pastor Jason.
It won't be that silly, sad Christian music that you hear in all these other places. You'll be coming in there. You're gonna be knowing you're going to a great time.
He's gonna hire one of these new Christian rap guys for the worship team.
I mean, it's gonna be that with some aggressive guitars and doing it right, man.
Right.
You walk out of there pouring sweat because you were praising the Lord so hard.
You'll get your workout in at the same
exactly.
time.
So let me cue this up. This is freaking absolutely epic. And I want to bless you with it. It's 6 minutes. So, you're going to have to be looking at us while we're playing it, but I want to.
Because they're going to hear but not see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just hooking up here. Oh, yeah. Okay. So now,
while he's doing that, if anyone on YouTube wants to take a second and like this video while you're listening, that would be super awesome.
Oh, we had so many likes last time. We had an all-time like.
Yeah, so let's beat it, guys.
We can do this.
We so appreciate you.
if you're not going to church, you know, I'm sorry, man. It's tough. We don't have one here. We watch Ken and, you know,
Yes,
and
God, we
several
don't
others.
either.
So, all right. So here we go. I'm going to play this and enjoy the awesomeness of Greg Locke here. It's very Ken Graves-ish, if you would say, since Ken's older than him.
Enjoy the southern drawl.
Yeah, the southern, he speaks a lot faster than Ken. So, but it doesn't, Ken sounds like two mountains
John
grinding.
Fetzer, they vandalized his church. I'm like, this guy's church?
Yeah, they did.
In Tennessee.
Yeah, they did because they had Roger Stone speak at it. All right. So I'm going to see if you can hear it here.
The church, why does it begin with the pastoral leadership? It's very, very true to understand that if we don't get the pastors right, we can't get the people right. I was reading this morning in Jeremiah chapter 10, and God said, my pastors in Israel are brutish. You know what the word brutish means? It means stupid. Matter of fact, some of the newer translations simply says stupid. Somebody says, Brother Locke, you ought not use that word. God did. It's in the Bible. He said, my pastors are brutish. They will not stand. And because of that, the sheep are scattered. And I don't want to be too mean. And I know we'll get a few people online about this one tomorrow. But I'm here to tell you, pastors in America are stupid. How in the world did we ever think we would get to a place where people are so hungry to come to a tent that smells like a co-op simply because their church has been closed and got to have temperature checks, sit 6 feet apart, got to wear masks? Where in the world did we ever think we would get to this place? It's because we haven't dealt with the shepherds. We got a shepherd problem in America. We got a pastor problem in America. We have a leadership problem from the top down problem in America, in the church, and it must be called out. Now, we got a lot of text to drill down into and a lot of things to deal with, and since I'm already going to do a nuclear rant tomorrow about what I'm about to say, I don't want to go too far into this. I was going to do it Friday night, but I slowed my roll because I was angry.
Here it comes.
And sometimes the first thing you want to say is probably the last thing you ought to say, especially when you're live on Facebook. Say amen right there. But I done told y'all a couple of months ago that Andy Stanley reached out to me from North Point Community Church because I said something about the fact that if a person had a brain, if a person had a backbone, and if a person had a Bible, then as a pastor, they would open their church. So he reaches out to me on Twitter in a personal DM, to which I didn't respond to. And he simply says, well, I have a Bible, so I'm 1 for 3. Okay. So I didn't say anything about it. And I wouldn't say anything about it now or in this nuclear rant that I'm about to unload on tomorrow or maybe tonight, depending on how froggy I feel here in a minute. Unless Andy Stanley took his comments public and went to the Christian Post and said, as a Christian, I am embarrassed by the churches in America that have defied the COVID mandates and opened their buildings. I'm embarrassed as a Christian by these pastors that would spar with the government. Well, let me just pull up a chair and talk to Andy for a minute. He's probably watching because he ain't got church know-how. I didn't make you come. Don't get nervous. You can leave anytime you want. I got friends that went to jail this past year for keeping their church open. I got friends that got $2 million fines for keeping their church open. While some of these mega churches got millions of dollars from the government, all this PPP money so they could keep paying their staff. And he's going to say, oh, I'm embarrassed by the Christians that defied the COVID regulations and opened their. I'm embarrassed by the cowardly pastors who closed their churches and didn't keep their churches open and didn't preach the gospel. I'm embarrassed by those jokers who I'm embarrassed by. You lost your mind. You got the wrong one if you think we're closing this thing down just because a few people going to get mad about it. CNN sent us another message the other day.
This is awesome.
They said, would it be better on March the 21st or March the 28th to bring a camera crew? I said, you get that close to Easter, you might as well wait till the first part of the month and just come on Easter and see what we got going on. You think we got a lot of maskless people now? You wait till Easter shows up, amen. We'll have all kind of people around here. You'll swear we're going to kill the whole continent with the people going to show up without no masks on around here. So I'm just saying, I got to save some of my stuff because I really am going to do a rant because that really does tick me off that somebody would say, oh, I'm embarrassed by the churches that would open. You've lost your mind. God's embarrassed by you. Jesus said, if you're ashamed of me before men, I'll be ashamed of you before my Father. Would you? I don't care if you got 20,000 people in your church. They ought to all leave and come to this tent, praise God. I'm so tired of this nonsense. So he doesn't talk to the people, he talks to the pastor. Because if you don't get the pastor fired up, the people ain't going to get fired up. Because, by the way, it's his idea whether the church opens or not, right? I get messages all the time. I wish our church would open. I wish our church would open. I'm like, talk to your pastor. He just won't do it. He's too bullheaded. Yes, amen. Fire him. We're over at this point, see? People are like, well, you know, Brother Locke, you got to just kind of slow your roll, cool your jets, man. This is about safety. This is about control is what this is about. This ain't got nothing to do with safety. This is about compliance. This has been a great, big, huge, by the way, 1 year. Happy anniversary to 15 days to slow the spread. This has been a 1 year experiment. That's it. That's all it's been. I don't care if you agree with me or not. I got the mic, you don't. Huh? This has been an experiment for 1 year. Here's the experiment. We need to see who's going to comply. And we're going to see who's going to be a problem moving forward. I'm going to be a problem moving forward, church. There's no doubt. I'm going to be a big problem moving forward. Big problem. Okay? I just am. I can't help myself. And so if we expect to have revival, I better get revival. If the church in America expects to get revival, then the pastors better get revival. The pastors better get a backbone, and the pastors better get anointed by the Holy Spirit of God if they want their church to be anointed by the Holy Spirit of God. So all that to say unto the angel of the church.
All right. So as you guys can see, that was freaking epic. Scott, if you go to Patriot Crusader Mission right now, I clipped his thing down. He's got like a 2-hour service with like at least 45 minutes of worship going down.
So I just put in, am I still muted? No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
I put in the link to their YouTube.
Yeah.
In chat here.
So what I did is I went in there and I found the 6 minutes of the rant, and I'm going to, it's already posted on our Facebook page. So I called it Pastor, it's what it was, Greg Locke destroys Andy Stanley or something like that, because he just totally destroyed Andy Stanley. If you don't know who Andy Stanley is, he's like a mega church dude, pastor, who a lot of people, conservative pastors have issues with. So
I love the crowd.
Yeah, the crowd. Like I'm telling you, I think people are high-fiving in the aisles there. I mean, again, at first it took me a while to get accustomed to it. I have to go into Ken Graves and it's a volcano erupting on stage. This is like like a minigun. It's just go the whole time. That was great. Thought it was an old time Brush Harbor revival. I don't know who old time Brush is, but Brush Harbor, but that was before my time, probably William. But that guy right there, he's amazing. I've watched him several times. He's part of my rotation that I go through. So I'm glad I have the technology where I could rip that and put it on here. So it's on our Facebook if you want it. The mass stuff is getting big joke. Here's the thing, guys, and you guys know who've been following us, our longtime followers. A year ago when this was going on, we took it more serious than anyone. We were number one alarmists saying we knew. I called it airborne like week 2 of January. Mm-hmm. Right? Literally, I think I was the first person I've heard anyone say that this is airborne.
Well, this was at the time that all we were getting were reports out of China and whistleblowers in China, and knowing that if it was looking bad, what China is actually hiding would probably make it way worse.
Right. So, I was a joker who went to the store before anyone was wearing masks, and I had N95 respirator. I had on 2 pairs of sweatpants, 2 sweatshirts. I had goggles on. I had the whole thing because if it's airborne, you could land in your eyes, right? I've got, chem bio experience, and so I treated it serious until the data showed me otherwise. Now, I don't wear a mask unless I have to, unless I'm going into a crowd. I went to the Million MAGA March. I was there on January 6th. Right. And my whole MO is if I was going to be in a train with a bunch of people, then I would have my N95 mask on and that's it.
Yep.
Right. If I'm going to be outside, I wasn't even going to sweat it. And it was packed.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID was definitely there. There was no way it couldn't have been there. And either the Lord protected me or,
I think the biggest realization, as I'm sure many of you have had over the past year, despite the media's narrative, is this for most people is not nearly as scary as we originally thought it could be, or the media still wants us to think it is. So, it's kind of I almost thought that I had it this last week because I had thought what it was a cold. And then I was feeling just more weird than a normal cold. So I went and got tested yesterday because I really thought that I had it and I didn't. But I was like, okay, if we have it, we have it. But
yeah, it's a scary thing, and we know we have close friends who've lost family members and everything else for it, I understand that it can produce anxiety, particularly to people who are immunocompromised or have other conditions. But here's the thing. I've never seen a world so scared to die that they stopped living.
Yeah. Yep.
I've never seen grandparents and great-grandparents so afraid to die that they're willing to kill their grandkids and their great-grandkids and their kids' future. I don't think they realize what they've done to us and done to the young people underneath it. Yeah. They have crippled this world when all they had to do was stay home. Most of them don't even work. Instead, they condemn the world to poverty.
Yeah, I remember back at Texas, I can't remember who he is, some lawmaker in Texas came out kind of in the beginning saying that I am willing to personally die versus kill the economy because I care more about my kids' future, my grandkids' future than my own. And he was put on blast for that.
Yeah, and we supported him. He was a guy out of Texas, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said that I'm willing, if I'm at risk, I'm at risk. I don't want to, bankrupt this country and have a Great Depression, have more people starve and, lives from people. We have not even begun to feel the ripple effects of this.
Yeah.
This ripple is going to travel out from the center and we're in like the first wave of that ripple right now, year 1. Right. We just floated the entire economy for a year.
Yeah.
Right. And we're still going. Right. We still got $1 trillion not spent from the last one thing. And we just passed another, how much? 1.9 trillion again, yeah. Of which 9%, yeah. Or was it 9 or is it?
I think it's 9% is actually
9% is going to COVID, and the rest of it is going to bail out Democrat hellholes, aka California, Massachusetts, New York, and everywhere else who can't run their own economies.
Yep. How convenient.
Oh, in Illinois, because they're the worst.
While making the thresholds to receive any more stimulus money harder to pass and all of this stuff. Yeah, so it's. Hope you guys are doing all right because the government's sure not going to take care of you.
Yeah. So anyways, what he's saying is true. We, and I've been hitting on this for a while and I do it with Ken. There needs to be a culling of the pastorhood. There are some weak, cowardly pastors out there leading people astray.
More than some, most.
A vast majority.
Yeah. Well, that was interesting. Ken referenced that in your talk with him last week about how people don't realize how far gone the seminaries are. And you think kind of people within the church, okay, that's probably, you know, they at least are going to have this right. But 70-something% of people in the seminary don't even believe that the Bible is the word of God. And he just referenced a few other things there. And it's just, I mean, so the majority, the big majority of what even they're producing is going to turn into these weak pastors who won't stand up for anything that's right.
Yeah, I mean, go back and watch Ken Graves' sermon on Sunday morning. What a great, I mean, he just digs into Genesis. And
was that in his sermon that he talks about that? Not in your talk.
Yeah, he digs into Genesis and the flood and science, and you know, he just, I mean, he amazes me with what he puts out there, to where my atheist brain, you know, is subdued into, you know, submission, because the facts are what the facts are, that there was a large flood. And then his whole
Brandy,
thing.
Thanks for joining us.
Man, Brandy, you're only on here for like 10 minutes.
He's working so hard these days. Go to sleep, Brandy. Don't listen to Jason. Yeah,
Ken is amazing. Hey, brother, we miss you. Anyways, that's all I'm saying there. So, so have you been keeping up with the comments here?
Yes.
Okay. So anyways, he did a science lesson on you know, what happened when how the earth was created and all this stuff. And before, I used to be able to poke holes and all that stuff, and now I can't. I can. It's literally the best explanation of how the earth became what it is, and how there were dinosaurs, and breaking down the mass of the dinosaurs, and you know why people live longer and that back then they do now, and the sun and the world being covered in like a thick globe of water, you know, just it's amazing stuff. Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. And it was just incredible. You know, I was one of those things where I'm just like, you know, every time Ken teaches, I usually learn something, you know, scientific, and I learn something about the Bible just about every time. I mean, he's just so well read, and he's an inspiration to me, because we both dropped out of school at the same grade, 10th grade.
Yep.
And he went off to he was so convinced that he was afraid the Lord was coming tomorrow, that he had to get closer to him. So he quit school and went and joined a prison ministry as a 16-year-old.
God bless him.
Yeah.
Not many teenagers have that conviction.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but he's had such a relationship with the Lord since he was 7.
Yeah.
And then me, who did something way stupider. So anyways.
Well, look where you got.
Yeah.
You're doing all right.
Yeah.
Do we want to skip to Sarah, because it's 9:30? Do we want to skip to her since she's on standby, and then can circle back on the other? Oh gosh, I just said circle back. Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that.
Ruined it. Then we will come back to to the other articles.
Yeah. We'll have Sarah on here for a bit, and then after Sarah, we're going to talk about this horrific war crimes, genocide article of mass gang rapes and raping with cattle prods, and just the most disgusting thing that China's done. When you buy a product made in China, shame on you. Shame on all of us, right? Look at the darn label. If it says made on China, throw it away, man. Get rid of it. They are as bad as the Nazis were, and I don't use that. They're probably worse.
Yeah, it's horrific.
I mean, you're talking about, they're the biggest threat the world has ever known, and they own your president right now. So anyways, all right, so we're going to go ahead and bring Sarah in.
Yep, so I have a text out to her. Doesn't look like she's read it yet. But Sarah, we are ready for you if you're listening. So our house is not on the market yet. We missed our Monday deadline.
That's all right. We had a realtor over today, and we
so our goal now is we are going to be on
there she is.
Market Friday. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Oh, great. You sound perfect. So this is Sarah, everyone. And we wanted to bring Sarah on here. She's nervous right now. Don't be nervous. You got an extremely friendly crowd. And Sarah has absolutely blown blew me away with how solid of a mother she is. She's raised like two of the best kids I've even, I don't usually typically like being around kids, other people's kids, because usually they're monsters.
I agree.
And
I
her
remember,
kids,
so he went on a business trip to Texas, and he stayed with Sarah and Jason. Jason works with us, and he came back and he was just gushing about your kids. He was like, they were the most pleasant kids I've ever been around. He's like, I didn't mind being around them. It was amazing. They've done a wonderful job with them. So that's
Thanks.
why you are on tonight, because we are trying to guide people on how to strengthen their Christian family and raise kids that can stand strong in today's culture and society. And you seem to be doing a great job at it. So we just wanted to pick your brain a little bit, see kind of how you've navigated this and made decisions that you have, to see if we can offer anyone out there some guidance of their own.
So the first question I wanted to ask you is about your faith. Are you a Christian? Have you always been a Christian? Give us a little bit of a backstory and then tell us a little bit about your family.
I am Christian. I was raised in United Methodist Church. I don't remember a time not being a believer, not walking with Jesus. I went through confirmation and did all that when I was 12, I think, and did youth groups and things like that. I got a little, sidetracked in college, like most people do.
Yep.
And found my way back, and we go to a non-denominational church. Chuck Swindoll is the preacher. He's amazing.
Has your church stayed open through COVID?
It has. It's been open. We've been going since before Christmas.
Okay.
You have to make reservations, of course, and but they are not requiring masks, so, which is lovely. They recommend them, but we don't do that. So yeah, we've been going, and we went the first time before Christmas to just like a concert thing, because our church is very traditional music wise, like symphony kind of music.
Yep.
And I remember walking in, and I mean, it hit me emotionally. It had been so long since we've been. And I look over, and Harrison, that's my 10-year-old, I look over, and his tears are just streaming down his face, like the same thing.
Sweet.
Like
That's
we were
awesome.
walking out, and I looked at him, I was like, you missed it, huh, buddy? And he was like, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did they go to a kids program in the church, or did they sit in with you?
They did. They now sit with us. They did before the COVID nonsense. Yeah, they would go. They have like a junction 5th and 6th grade, and then 7th grade and up, and they did that. But now they just come to church with us.
Okay. Awesome. And did you enjoy the kids program? I know that that's one thing that parents have to navigate is, do they use the kids program? One, there's the safety concerns, which,
Right.
that's our other life. But then also is their kids program teaching, do they have the people influencing your kids that you trust?
Right. I think they did. Both my kids went to a Methodist church for preschool. They started, I think Campbell was in the like 2's class or 1's class, because I was getting ready to have Harrison. I needed her out of the house for a couple hours every other day. But so they were immersed in that for years of just learning, every other day for hours on end, that God loves you and Jesus loves you, and you are who you are because he made you that way. And I think that we try and reinforce that all the time. Like, you're enough. You're exactly who you're supposed to be.
Awesome. So I want to kind of go on a timeline here of when you start, like when did you introduce faith to your children? Like, so preschool, like not like preschool, but prior to them starting school, what did that look like? Because a lot of people, this homeschooling COVID thing has taken people who were a society that was so used to outsourcing their kids to everyone else but themselves, and everyone raising their children but them.
Yeah.
Right. And, the nanny state to, oh my God, I got to work and I've got my kids in the house. What am I doing? How did you cope with all that?
We started, I guess, before they were born, like they didn't really know without it. We did prayers every night. We, talked about Bible stories, and, I was a big fan of, I talked to my kids constantly when they were little bitty. Like I would point things out and we would have conversations before they could even talk back. And I'm like, everything is, well, God made this and God made that. And, it just becomes a part of the fabric of who they are. Like they don't know any different. That's the way they feel, and their faith is real. And it's just so, as far as we had to do a little bit of homeschooling, not a lot here, which is nice. I mean, I think I don't like a lot of what public school does, but my kids need the socialization.
Mm-hmm.
You can't live in a bubble, and we're very, very comfortable in our bubble, which means that if they didn't go to school, we would never leave the house.
Right.
And that's not good.
Lord can relate.
I don't need to raise little cave children. So
yeah. B knows more how to be around dogs than she knows how to be around.
She thinks she is a dog. Like literally, she goes around modeling the dog's behavior instead of people.
She's great at sharing, though.
So, I know you guys limit TV time. I know you live, like, I don't know if they have devices. Yeah. So how are you dealing with, well, let's stick with the schools first.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any trouble with the schools and with curriculum and the pushback and the masks and everything else all the challenges? What are the biggest challenges you've had with the school so far?
The biggest thing to get used to is the masks going back. I'm anti. I have not put one on the entire time. I'm that person that gets videoed and yelled at the grocery store. But so the kids wear them because they have to. And they know they don't work. And, we're very real about that. It's a piece of cloth over your face. You might as well do this. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
But, we're just going to go along to get along right now, because homeschooling was an absolute joke in the spring. The virtual academy was a tremendous joke. My fourth grader was in school for 11 minutes during the day, and I had to fill the rest of the time. I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're playing a lot of Xbox because I don't know what to do with you. But they will wear the mask, and my son's even asked me, why won't you just wear one? And because we don't go to a lot of places that require it. And so they've had to, we don't do movie theaters. We don't go, do the bowling alleys and stuff like that, because I flat out won't. And he asked legitimately the other day, and I was like, dude, it's principle. I was like, what's next? Are they going to tell you have to have, spiky hair, and you have to wear pink pants, and you have to, only use your right hand forever? Like, it's arbitrary. It's completely made up. And once everybody agrees to that, there's no stopping them. Like, they can keep making arbitrary rules that we all have to follow for absolutely no reason. So that's been difficult. I think it's more difficult for me. I mean, kids are resilient. They just go do it because they know they have to do it. And, my son wears his like here, I think, most of the day. I think he's just like challenging the teachers to say something. And my daughter has 2 or 3 teachers that will, that are super hyper believers in it, and we'll talk about everybody dying. And so she has to keep it above her nose some classes, but otherwise they don't pay attention.
Right.
So we've been really blessed with our district. They claim that they're, all for safety and masks, but they're not really pushing it as hard. So that's good.
And what about curriculum? Have you had any challenges? For example, like Lauren and I were raised in the secular Northeast, where evolution is taught as fact and not as a theory, and creationism isn't even considered.
We haven't really had a lot. Like, I don't like it when they push, like, February is, Black History Month, and all of a sudden everything is a Black author and everything's a Black story and every character has to be a Black person. And, my kids are like, well, okay, that's great, but why are we only doing this in February? And why do they count so much, but we don't get to do this any other time, So that part I'm not a huge fan of. Otherwise, my kids are exceptionally smart, like wicked smart. And I feel like that's like a huge blessing to us, because they want to learn, like they love it. So unlike I know a lot of people struggle and their kids struggle, we could put them in any situation and they want to learn, they want to be challenged and do better. And so there's been a couple of assignments where I'm like, yeah, my daughter will come home and be like, I have to write about global warming and how, killing trees and cutting this down. And she's like, it's so dumb. I was like, I know, you don't have to believe it. You just got to write it down.
Yeah.
Have they ever tried to express a different viewpoint than what is clearly the teacher's preference or opinion? And has there been any kickback for that?
They don't really voice it much. My daughter was shocked at the beginning of this fall because they all have to take Chromebooks in 7th grade, and now there's no paper anymore because apparently paper has COVID. And so they anyway, so she was like, Mommy, I looked around and everybody in my class has Trump screensavers. And I was like, seriously? 7th grade, yeah. And so they would talk about Trump and loving America and being patriots and things like. They would actually talk about that stuff with her classmates, and there are a couple of teachers that I'm pretty sure didn't appreciate that, but so far there hasn't been a lot of pushback, and if there is, it's not enough to rise to the concern where it bothers her.
In Texas, you still have a little bit of.
We have a little bubble here still. Yeah.
Hope you keep it.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. So as far as in kind of keeping with the, Christian topic and things like that, and influences on your kids, I believe I heard at one point, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you're still doing it, that you greatly minimized who was able to watch or care for your kids. Do you use other childcare, or is it always one of you who has?
It's always us or my parents.
Okay.
They've never had a baby. They're 13 and almost 11. They've never had a babysitter.
And is that because you didn't want outside influences, or what was your decision making there?
I didn't really know anybody well enough. I'm very much an introvert, so for me I don't have like a big circle, so I never really met people. I remember asking one mom one time in a play group because she really loved her babysitter. I was like, oh, hey, can I have that name? She's like, yeah, I don't share it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of stopped asking.
Yeah.
But
can be so mean.
Wow.
Yeah, right? They really can. I'm not a super trusting person, I guess.
Mhm.
I kind of have I get it from my mom, paranoid tendencies. So no, they didn't seem any reason. Like, I adore my children. I love hanging out with them. They're not, they don't cause trouble. They're not high maintenance.
They're great kids.
So
great kids.
For me to find babysitters and just pay them a bunch of money when I could just take the kids with me, or, it's not a big deal. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's probably a large reason why they've turned out the way that they have too, because they have kind of a consistent set of expectations from you, influence from you. They haven't had, it's hard. We co-parent. We have a nanny, and it's hard when someone else steps in to, in part, raise your child, and they are naturally going to do it in some ways differently than you.
Right.
And so that kid is going to then learn kind of, how do I navigate the system, and what can I get away with, and not be consistently reprimanded in the way that you as a parent would want. So I think that's probably a why your kids have turned out largely the way that they have.
How are you handling social media with your kids?
They don't do it.
Okay.
Neither one of them have phones.
Good for you.
My daughters discovered YouTube because they don't learn at school. They just play on YouTube apparently all day. And so she watches music videos and like crafty videos and things like that. And she's discovered some dude that plays computer games and is super sarcastic and screws them up on purpose. And it's really funny. So my son is in love with that channel. So that's like, we drove home from Houston today and he literally spent like 4 hours in the car laughing his butt off at these videos. But otherwise they don't surf the web. They don't have a social media. I don't have a social media presence. I don't do that. But my daughter was dying for a phone for a while. Once she learned that it was not happening, she backed off. My son has a little buddy now that he texts on my phone, and they FaceTime and play video games together. And he's like, see, I need a phone, Mommy. I would do more than Campbell. I need a phone. I'm like, yeah, that's not happening either. Sorry. It's just, I don't understand how people can, we still preach like, don't talk to strangers and don't go here by yourself, and, don't do that. It's dangerous. And yet these parents are just willing to literally open the world to their children. Completely unguarded.
Yep.
That blows me away. And I'm way too paranoid. You know, I watch way too much Criminal Minds to be like, no, I'm sorry, you can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I read the wrong kind of books. Like, you can't do this.
The only way I advocate anyone give their kid a phone is if they have it, you know, if they got it tracked, meaning that everything that's typed in that phone shows up on your phone.
Right.
Right. So it's complete transparency. There is nothing on there. The games that a lot of parents have to understand, I'm sure you know this, a lot of games have chat functions.
Yeah.
So it's a way for them to communicate and do whatever and interact with that whole world you were talking about, right?
Right.
Like you get on, you know, some of these games and you don't know who you're interacting with.
Right.
And they think they're playing with another kid their age, and next thing you know, they're not.
Yeah. Well, we talk about that. The kids play Roblox. I don't know if you know what that is. It's
I don't know what that is now.
It's some app that's like user created games. So there's all kinds of different ones they look like Minecraft-ish kind of.
Right.
And they play that a lot, and there was a little chat, and I remember one night Harrison was upset about something. I was like, what's going on, dude? And he said that it was weighing on him that he hadn't told me what somebody said in a chat, that they were kind of mean. And I was like, okay, well, what did they say? And he was like, well, they were just being mean and said somebody was stupid and whatever. And then they got kicked off the chat. And he goes, but it really bothered me. And I was like, okay, well, and so it bothered him. Like, he needed to tell me, like it was bubbling up that he needed to tell me. But the Roblox one, from what I understand, and the kids tell me and they show me what they type, and most of the stuff if it's anywhere close to bad, it gets blocked, and that kind of stuff. So it's not true out there, but but like my kids we're all on the same Apple account.
Yeah.
So with all the games, so we have to put in our password to let them get games and to update them and to see what they're doing every time. So
yeah, it's just really challenging being a parent because you have to become a tech expert for whatever's coming out.
You do, and I know nothing. So
right. So
I don't either. That's gonna be totally Jason's world.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to be on the cutting edge, and you got to sit there and think, okay, how would I do it?
Right.
Right. How would I do it? Right. And then you got to start reverse engineering and thinking about it. Like, terrorist attacks were planned through game chats.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Literally. So, so again, understanding that type of thing is key. And, I think the best thing ever is if you're not going to be an expert on it, you better not give it to your kids so they can be an expert on it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because then they're going to be using it against you.
Yeah, exactly. And I coached middle school kids in volleyball for several years, and I remember them showing me like the tricks on their phones and how they would, my mom doesn't know I have this app, and I have to use this to unlock this, and she doesn't know that I have this either. And the pictures they were sending and the things they were doing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something that the kids don't understand. When we screwed up, it died really quickly. Right. When you screw up now and it's on the internet, it's there forever.
Yeah. I'm trying to, hammer that into my children's heads and make them understand, like I would almost get them a car before we get them a phone. You know what I mean? Like the access to the internet is so huge. It's such a huge responsibility and a huge weight. I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard because I know they have to do it. They're going to have to do it.
Yeah. And imagine, are they starting to get any kind of pressure from their friend group at all, for not having access to technology that all the friends do, or not yet?
Really. I mean,
that's good.
Campbell doesn't have she has acquaintances at school, nobody really close. But I mean, they use my phone. They're welcome to use it anytime they want. It's just, I think their friends don't like the fact that they have to text my phone because it limits them on what they can say.
I think that's a good compromise. The fact that it's not that they don't have access to a cell phone. It's just, it's your phone. You're going to be able to see whatever they do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a great system.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Lauren.
Well, I was also struck from your story about your son coming to you and telling you about being bothered by something in the chat. That to me shows that you've done a great job in instilling them one confidence that they come and talk to you, and a moral compass and kind of what's right and what's wrong. And it seems like he has a pretty narrow lane on kind of what's right. If, saying someone was stupid, if that struck him as that wasn't right and that wasn't sitting well with him. So I don't know if you can speak at all about how, I'm imagine that started as a young age of you starting at age appropriate ways to talk to them about that. But getting them to the point where they have this feeling of what's right and wrong. And that's also a God thing as well, kind of as far as morals and everything there.
Yeah. I think we just model it, I think. I mean, I don't claim to be, perfect example of anything outside my household, and I'm probably not the nicest person you've ever met, but I try, we say please and thank you to our kids all the time. I expect them to be respectful to me because I'm respectful to them, and then when they leave this house, they know that I've shown them what they're supposed to do, and that Jason and I have made sure that they, are aware, like we tell them before they're going to go to somebody's house, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Like they don't say it to us because I wasn't raised that way, and it's hard for me to remember stuff like that to keep it consistent.
Yeah.
But when you go to other people's homes, you're even more respectful. You take it up a notch, and nobody should make you feel uncomfortable. Like that's in the opposite of that. You should never make somebody else feel uncomfortable. Like we're all the same. Like everybody is the same. Like we all have the same problems. We all go through the same things. We all have the same thoughts. Just, accept people and move on. Like it's too hard. Otherwise life's too difficult. If you start picking through all the differences and figuring out, trying to pick people apart that way, it's too difficult.
Yeah. Amen to that. You were going to.
Yeah. So all of us, like Lauren was about as straight and narrow of a person as I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
And even she had that one friend who has been a complete disaster in her entire life and got her, every time she got in trouble, it was with this person. How I know your kids are still young, but have you come up with a strategy yet on filtering their friends?
Not exactly. That's the hard part right now is, like I said, Campbell doesn't have a real close group yet. She's pretty quiet. She listens, and she's a lot like me, which I take it or leave it is good or bad. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but, right. So she doesn't have a super close group. And the fact that, like I said, she doesn't do the social media and the group chats and all that stuff. I don't know if that's limiting her. Harrison's had a couple experiences with some jerky kids. A little buddy came over. He's in like 3rd grade. It's been a couple years, and the kid was just incredibly rude to Jason, incredibly rude to Harrison, and we were just like, okay, we need to talk. So we talked about it after he left, like, how does that make you feel? Like, why are you, does he make you feel good? Like a friend shouldn't make you feel bad about yourself. That's not a friend.
Right.
And if we've had that, and we've had that conversation with Campbell, the same thing. Little girls are very mean. Girls in general are mean at all ages, but little girls are exceptionally mean. And so you have to. And I think the downside to teachers not being able to say boys and girls or class anymore, everybody's friends. We're all friends. Hello, friends. Come on, friends. They started doing that when Campbell got to kinder. And I remember thinking, like, what a horrible disservice, because you're watering down that word. So now my kids think everyone is their friend.
That's an interesting point.
We had to have so many conversations about how they're not. Like you can have 10, 18 kids in your class. You may be friends with 1 or 2.
Right.
The rest of them, just because your teacher says you're friends, you're not friends. They don't, that's a big deal. That's a huge role for someone to be your friend.
It's a lot of trust. Yeah. It's a lot of trust. So that's the next thing I want to talk about, because that's the hard part.
And you have someone who's watching on YouTube right now. He's a great supporter of ours, and he's loving everything you're saying you sound just like him. So he's appreciative of you coming on.
Good deal.
Yeah. So my next thing is, how do you take the training wheels off? One of the things that we had happen to us that was pretty shocking is we were doing a women's self-defense class, right? And the flyer said we were going to be talking about women's self-defense class, rape,
like going off to college,
to college things. So these were girls who were 16, 17, 18. And we played 5 o'clock news footage, and the reaming we got.
It was of that one was of the domestic or the assault at home, right?
Yeah, it was a home invasion
assault
in New Jersey.
On a mom.
No blood. They blurred stuff out, but it was obviously bad things were happening. And the point of that video was to show them that you have to have a plan in your house when you're alone, and that anything can happen. And you better, you better have a plan and know how to do what you got to do. And we got reamed in a 2,000 word essay on how bad it was and how they had to pray to Jesus for protection from the things we shown them. I'm like, your daughter's going off to college.
Couldn't sleep anymore.
Couldn't sleep anymore. Had PTSD
Wow.
from going to our. So I'm
Oh
like,
my goodness.
this is a women's self-defense class against rape.
Right.
Like, we have to cover some basic things here.
Yeah.
Right. Everything was tasteful. Everything was respectful,
but not
but
blowing unicorns and
I'm not.
sunshine.
But
Right.
we're talking about people taking your body from you, or
Right.
doing something, even worse, taking your life. And, so we had to talk about things, and we taught them. And again, they didn't say anything to us. They were actually two good students.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it just shows, that just kind of showed me the other side of the Christian conservative. And again, I don't know if they were conservative or not. I know they were Christians because the kids were praying to Jesus and the way they wrote the letter. But when do you take the training wheels off to be like, hey, stranger danger is a real thing. You don't trust anyone all the way, except for your mom and your dad and your sister and your brother or whatever. And, you just have to have a plan. How do you do that?
I don't know yet. I do know that I've seen the other side, like you're talking about. I had a couple good friends, and they were, the perfect little house in the prairie moms, and they made the kids clothes, and they homeschooled, and they went to church religiously and all that stuff. And I think they really thought that their kids are completely protected and they don't have to worry about any of that stuff. They can just keep them as little naive things. And we tell our kids, pure and simple, like, evil exists and it is all around. Like, you have to understand that.
I would deal with those kids from Oklahoma, Kansas, all these little, middle America places. When I was in Boston PD, Boston has more colleges per capita than practically anywhere.
Yeah.
And they would go from these shelters live to the city.
Right.
And they would get robbed at gunpoint, their iPad taken from them, beat up, brutalized. I have one kid, a horrible story. His grandfather died in, we'll say Oklahoma. And he was a first-year freshman, maybe a sophomore in college, and his older brother was 2 years above him. So here he is. They got an early flight out, and he's got his computer bag and his suitcase, and he's walking on a place that during the day would be pretty safe, right? And here he is walking, going to his brother's house, who's out drinking his sorrows away because his grandfather died, and a minivan pulls up. Guys get out. They tell him to give him the backpack. He does. They grab his other thing, stab him 7 times.
Oh my gosh.
And take off. This kid complied the whole way. Like, this is right. And I pulled up right as their van took to the right. And if we weren't 3 blocks from Brigham and Women's Hospital, he would have died.
Wow.
Now, they attacked him because he was a white kid, and they weren't.
Right.
Okay. And because he was an easy target. And the jury found them not guilty, despite the fact that we caught them with their credit cards and everything else on there, because we didn't have DNA and satellite imagery.
Oh my gosh.
That is our court system, right? But this was just one case, countless times where the project kids would prey upon all these runners and everyone else doing whatever who think they can run anywhere, and they run around the corner, and then blam, they get sucker punched. Everything's taken from them. Their teeth are shattered on the pavement, and their parents did a terrible job preparing them for evil.
Yeah.
So we, as as parents and as Christian warriors, whatever you want to call us, we have to prepare them for that part, and I don't know how you do it. I'm not a know-it-all. I don't know how you do it and maintain the innocence as long as you can, but I just wondered if you had a plan for that.
I mean, I'd say in part, you're already limiting online access, and so it sounds like you've had some conversations about the dangers of the online world, which crosses over into predators. So has that been part of that conversation as well?
We have some. We haven't necessarily talked like this is you get in a chat room and somebody sounds nice, then all of a sudden like they want you to meet them, and then you're, taken and we never see you again. Like we haven't discussed detailed things like that. But we don't, if they see something on TV or they read something or hear something and they want to know about it, we tell them. We're not, we're not secretive about things. We don't try and cover stuff up. I'm a terrible liar and they know it. So I can't, help but tell them the truth about things. But so we haven't had specific conversations. I honestly don't even know how. I can't fathom, I can't wrap my head around my kids being in that situation. So I know that that's going to be really difficult to think about and cross over. I mean, right now, like I said, they want phones. They don't need phones because when they're away from me, they're at hockey practice or they're at baseball practice and I'm right there, or they're at school and I pick them up. You know what I mean? Like they're never somewhere else that I don't know where they are.
Right.
I think it'd be different if they were like, I see kids in our neighborhood we have crazy drivers and I don't understand any of that either, but let little ones in elementary just walk the neighborhood, ride their bike around the neighborhood. And I'm like, okay, your kid leaves your house, you might never see them again. Like that's the way I think is that. And I know that's not super healthy either. Like you have to kind of balance it. I don't know how to do that yet.
Yeah. Well, I think, most of us grew up in a time where it was, I mean, it's a meme now. Come back, be home when the street lights turn on, right? Because that's when dinner is, right? And I would roam the entire city.
Oh, well, I didn't do quite that.
I mean, we had, bikes or whatever, and we would travel wherever we wanted to go and explore and do all kinds of stuff. And nowadays, you can't do that, but it's kind of crazy because you would think it's actually be a little bit safer now, but it's not. Right. I think because we become worse as a society as a whole. Right. Because back then there wasn't a million cameras to catch you being snatched. That's why they had milk cartons with kids' faces on them. All the time. Right.
Yeah, and
we have more tech that can show what happens, but it's not going to keep them safe necessarily in the moment.
Yeah.
Well, I just think, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's not, and sometimes it's not even the snatch part that gets me. It's just everybody's distracted. No one is doing just one thing anymore. We're all multitasking. And so, I mean, we ride bikes to school and I ride with them. Harrison's like, when can I ride by myself? And I was like, yeah, never. Because I would just have to ride down and see if you got there. If I'm going to do that, I might as well come with you. But we've, almost been hit by a car 2 or 3 times at a stop sign because they're not paying any attention.
Yeah.
In the morning when kids are going to school and there's a giant stop sign and the stop sign's there because you live in the neighborhood. And it's that kind of stuff that scares the crap out of me because, it can come from absolutely nowhere.
I was hit on my bike twice.
So, I mean,
and
unless you chip them like a dog and you always know where they are, maybe, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet either.
That's a fact. I'm hoping by the time baby B reaches dating age, they'll have like a dad hologram ball that follows you around. And that basically is here, and it'll be my eye looking at him, somebody like
she's doomed.
Yeah.
She's doomed.
So she's never leaving the house. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
She can leave the house, just not without the eyeball. The hovering eyeball that's over her shoulder. And they'll be like, what are you doing? What do you think? How could you don't talk to that person?
Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of based on the industry that we're in and Jason's history and all that, kind of we are going to tend to kind of wanting her to know about the realities of things and not to sugarcoat, but at the same time, I mean, she's got this precious innocence right now, and so it is going to be hard. You don't want it to go so far as to have her start to be paranoid about everything or scared of everyone, but what is that balance? Because I mean, right now she's in the age where she just runs up to everybody to say hi to them and she thinks that they're all amazing, and and so it's certainly, kind of when I mean, she's not quite even 2 yet. So it's when you're out in public, you make sure that you have contact with her at all times. Cause otherwise she'd run right up and into someone's arms and there she goes.
Yeah.
Chris, I completely agree with you. Dating age is 35 in my house. Exactly. So, do you have any tips for new parents, particularly Christian parents, on how to raise a Bible believing child? you know,
I think
because
especially because we start to see these kids that hit teenage stage, and especially in the public school system, and they get so brainwashed by what they're taught there that they come home and tell their parents that they're crazy for their beliefs, and
Yeah.
you know, they're pushed with this very the cultural agenda right now, all of the LGBTQ everything,
Right.
and so they start to think that their parents are bad people for their faith, their limiting faith, and
Yep.
then they go to college and completely lose it. So yeah, your plan of attack there.
Um, yeah, easy question, no big deal. I don't know. I think that we, like I
think
said,
you kind of
we,
stated it a little bit in the beginning, you know, by praying with them early on. Like one of the proudest things that Lauren and I had happen was we were getting ready to say grace, and baby B, like we'd already said grace, and then baby B wanted to say grace again, and like grabbed our hands and like said her
Aw.
own little, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and praying over them. But and I've seen your affirming state, your affirming,
Affirming.
affirming.
I think it's affirming.
Holy smokes!
You
Yeah.
about affirmation.
Yeah, it was affirmation. But
Whatever, you got it.
your signs of affirmation
There you
all
go.
around the house, you know,
Yeah.
particularly by the kitchen table that you had there. But again, I didn't mean to throw you a hard one. I was just
No,
wondering.
I think that we make sure that God is present in the house, and they know
Ooh, that's
that
great.
He's here, and
That's
you know
great.
that it's a presence that's, you know, He's always with us. You know, loved us before we were born, knows what we're gonna do, is, you know, is ready to forgive, and and then I think you kind of pull back a little bit. Like I don't want to choke them with it. I don't want it to
Yeah.
be like, you know, oh, you didn't wash your hands, go pray, you know, or you did something bad, go pray. Like, you know, we talk like Harrison's a little bit of a perfectionist, and Campbell gets a little frustrated, and we talk about, I'm a big talker, like use your words, talk to me, like what's
Yeah.
going on. You know, there's only one perfect person, and he's already come and gone, and you are not him.
Right.
So we, you know, push that a lot. Like it's never going to be perfect. You are enough. You are exactly who you're supposed to be, exactly where you're supposed to be, and when you're supposed to be. And, you know, and God knows what you're going to do before you even do it. Like you're okay. Like everything, you're good. But I don't want to, like, I don't know, push, you need to do a Bible study every day, and you need to read the verses every day, and you need to do it, because I'm not even that good at that. You know, I wish I was better, but I'm not. And I feel like if I can't make myself do it, it feels a little hypocritical to be jumping on them every day. If it's something they feel led to do, then I will definitely, I want them to do that. But and there's times that we'll talk, you know, they'll bring up something and we'll talk about a Bible verse or a story or something they learned, especially when they were in Sunday school. We would talk about it on the way out from church, what they learned. And but I've seen the other side, the parents who it is just
Every Catholic kid I grew up
choking
was
them.
falling away from faith. Like
Yeah.
literally, I was the atheist, raised as an atheist, you know, no church, nothing. All my friends went to Catholic school and CCD and all this stuff, and all this stuff. They all fell away. They're all atheists now, and I'm the Christian. Right. They don't,
Yeah.
and the thing is, I find they don't even have the most basic understanding of the Bible. I'm like, what do they teach you?
Right.
Like, what did you waste every Sunday for like years,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
doing if you don't even remember this stuff?
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, what I find is that parents were again outsourcing their faith
Yeah.
and their mentorship. You know, we're all about mentoring. This whole program, this whole show is all about mentoring people, right? Mentoring people on how to live a certain lifestyle. And, you know, and you can't outsource that.
No.
Can't, you know.
No,
And
if it's not modeled, they're not going to follow it. They will push hard against it if they don't see it at home.
Yeah, I think that's such a key what you said too, and because we've talked actually just recently about hypocritical Christians and you know, mentoring. We're getting into the mentoring, and you know, don't try to be a mentor if you're not kind of doing it well yourself. And
Yeah.
I think that's so true that a lot of parents put on these expectations for their kids to be better than they even manage to be themselves.
Right.
And so if the kids are not seeing you model a good Christian marriage and the proper roles of kind of what a husband does and what the wife does. And if you're always, sinning yourself and they, obviously some sin is going to be inevitable, but how do you handle that? And if you put on greater expectations for your kids to be perfect, I think they certainly are going to start to push back against that.
Yeah. I just had such a hardcore memory come back on me. I remember literally everyone who raised me saying, don't be like me. Just the opposite of a mentor. Right? Because they had such low self-esteem of themselves.
Who do you look to?
Who do you, if your parents are telling you that, and the people who are raising you to do that, and it's like, don't be like me, don't do this. And it's like, well, who do I look up to then?
Yeah.
You've just
so then you turned out to the world to try to find someone.
Exactly. So I mean, I literally just saw that all flash through my mind, like every person that, who would be in that role.
Yeah. Right. Whereas the goal of the parent should be try to be like me, try to be like us as a parenting structure.
Yeah. As you're married, as you're modeling that proper behavior, everything about that. Yeah. Maybe they're going to be rocket science. You're not a rocket scientist, but you still do the best that you can be, and no matter what you do.
Right. I think the thing that I always say, and the kids will do something and Jason will be like, I don't know what we're doing, but we are killing it, because they do something amazing. I wish I could bottle it. I'd be a millionaire. But like the main thing that gets me is I see this all the time, and I think it's just a theme, is that people are inherently, like, we have a tendency to be lazy. And I think you could boil down most kid problems, household problems to lazy ass parents. They don't want to do the work. And it's hard. This is the hardest job ever.
Your mic might have just died.
Oh, really?
We can't hear you.
Us?
Oh, no.
Can you hear us? I think your mic.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Is it freezing?
Lost her connection.
We'll give it a minute to see.
Okay. Did it come back? No, it just went away. How does this work?
Might have died
the
or something.
camera is freezing up some too.
Okay. There you are. I think I
Is
hear
that better?
something moving right now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Back.
Got you back. Okay. Yeah, we got you back.
I don't know where you lost me.
You were talking about lazy. You were talking about lazy
I was just
parents.
saying that. Like it's hard. It's really hard. You have to stay consistent, and you have to do things the same every time, and you have to push them, and they don't want to be pushed, and you have to keep doing it. And I think the problem is that parents don't see the results, the fruits of their labor. It's not instant, so you do the things and you're like, that's good enough. That's good enough. Oh, they'll learn it at church, or they'll learn it at school. I don't need to talk about it. I don't need to do anything. They'll learn it. And then 20 years down the road, you either have, a pregnant teen or somebody on a watchtower, and you're like, oh, well, crap. I probably shouldn't have done it the way I did, but it's too late by that point. Right. And, in my own family, there's examples where, the kids have no discipline and they have no structure, and it's because it's not being done. And like I said, it's not easy. And half the time, sometimes it's not fun when they're little and, we're having an hour and a half long meal because I'm forcing them to eat what they have to eat. But it's a battle, and
I can relate.
I'm going to win. And I won. And now I have, kids that will eat whatever I put in front of them, and they will not argue, and they eat it. So,
well, you're a great cook.
Thanks. But, but I'm just, it's little things. Like, you have to do the little things. And I think that's so important, and it's not happening anymore. People are just overlooking the little things and throwing technology in their faces and thinking
they want to
enough.
To the sports games and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of mentoring that needs to go on, and our primary plea to everyone is you need to ABM, always be mentoring. Right. There's always a teachable moment, whether you're driving down the road and a disgusting song comes on the radio and you're like, okay, this is on the radio. I can either hide from it or I cannot. We're not going to listen to this, but if we are going to listen to this, let's learn from it. What is wrong about this song, and what can we take away from everything that's being said here? And can you see the harm? I want you to be able to trace back where the harm is in this. Right. And
that's what, in talking about how
I got that from Ken Graves. I didn't make that up. So.
How to help them when they leave your nest and go out in the world. If you've always just changed the channel, but not taught them how to analyze something in a way that they can process it in a healthy manner and see what influences are trying
Right.
to reach them, then they're going to be completely blindsided. But by
Yeah.
allowing them to hear, obviously there's some things that you're just going to change the channel for,
Yeah.
but by allowing them to hear some things that are inappropriate, but that you can work through
Yeah, and
them.
you can be like, you see
Right.
what they did there, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you
So I
know,
think that's where a lot of parents fall short in that bubble mentality.
Yeah.
Right.
is there anything other wisdom you want to share with us before you get back to your Monday night?
I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I know that. I know that my kids are amazing, but I also know that, God made them that way. I just get to be here to witness it, to be a part of the ride.
Yeah.
They I think the number one thing is consistency. Like, we're super consistent. We are on the same channel all the time. And we've been encouraging the kids to talk to us their whole lives. Like, my kids didn't throw temper tantrums because when they started crying, we would make them breathe and then use words. As soon as they could use your words, what is happening? Use your words. Tell me why you were crying. And then we used rewind a lot. That was a big deal. Something would happen and we would say, okay, let's rewind. How should you have handled this? Like you did it this way and it ended up not in your favor. You got in trouble or you got upset or something went wrong. Okay, let's rewind. Let's start over. And we'll replay the conversation and we'll put them back in the scenario again and say, okay, do this again. Now, what choices should you have made in the same situation to give you a better outcome?
That's great.
And we did that a lot when they were little. And I think that, I don't know if I think that helped. I don't know.
No, I think that's brilliant. I think it's
know.
brilliant. And I've seen it as living proof.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you spending, this time with us.
Yeah, thank you.
You
so
did
much.
great. You're crushing it in your kid's life. And I still think you're a super mom. So
Thank you.
All right. So you have a great night and thank you. And tell Jason thank you.
I will.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
God bless.
Bye.
You too.
All right, guys. So that takes us to our next segment. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I want to
thanks
start
for listening through, and
I want to start pulling people on to give them real peer-to-peer advice.
looks like Billy wants to come on.
Yeah, Billy, you're going to be sober when you come on. That's the key. That's the key. All right.
Monday nights, Billy, not Friday nights.
Yeah, exactly.
Friday night's the drinking night.
So Candace said we definitely have to provide our children with the tools to be the best individuals they can and have faith that once we as parents instill the proper skills, confidence, and the ability, our children can be productive and caring adults as well. Totally agree. So, I mean, I think it's really important that we continue to bring on normal people. Yes, would I love to interview some amazing famous people, but we don't really have a lot in common with a lot of them, and I want to interview and I want to learn from you guys as we lock shields and as we invest in each other's lives, getting vulnerable and doing that. And that leads to testimonies. So we're going to start a segment called Testimony Tuesdays, and it will not be live just because, testimonies can be a sensitive thing. So we're going to film it. They'll be long. It'll always be interview style if I can help it, just because we'll be able to drill down. And if anybody has a testimony that you want to share, just let us know and we'll schedule a time, and it'll be a Zoom, and you can edit what you want to edit out or take what, we can talk about it and say, hey, is it appropriate for me to do, we're here to help coach you through it. But, we want you, everyone's testimony is meant for countless other people out there who are about to go through what you're going through or are in the middle of it. So anyways, that's the point. We wanted to keep this and get this more organic and bring more people just like you who are doing a good job at certain things and have some wisdom and knowledge to share.
Yeah. I think so often we highlight, there's so many examples out there right now of people failing. We talked about these weak pastors and, and the weak Christians and all of that. And so I think that being able to show you when someone's doing it what we think is the right way, and we talk so much about kids and how to raise the next generation and all of that. And so any example that we can give you that might give you some tidbits to apply to your own life, or show you that you're not alone. It seems like, Scott, you could really relate to how the Conways are raising their kids. So I'm sure with all of the societal pressures out there, parents like Scott, parents like Sarah, you might question, kind of, am I being crazy for having kind of keeping this kind of control on my kids? And I think the outcome is you're doing it exactly right. And so putting you guys together to know that you're not alone, I think, is valuable as well.
Yeah. And, I want to switch gears now to go to the CCP story before we wrap up.
Okay. Yeah, that's a rough switch. We go from loving
So I want to drive this point home. If you are not actively working in your own life to counter China, right? That means not buying garbage off of Amazon that's made in China. That means paying a little bit more for the hammer. It means, I don't care if you buy the hammer that's made in Nicaragua, just do not buy it from China. They are mass raping women. They are raping nuns. They are raping with Muslim women. They're torturing them. There's this article in the Epic Times. If you go to our Facebook page, you'll see it there. It is straight out of a horror movie what they're doing, biting them on every inch of their body.
Yeah.
Like groups of men just biting
gang
them.
Rapes while biting them and just opening all these wounds and sodomy and all this awful stuff. Making other groups of prisoners watch women being gang raped, other kinds of torture, and it's all to get them to renounce their faith. And they have a lot of Uyghurs, which are Muslims, but this article referenced that they are using these same tactics. They reference Christian nuns and then some monks as well.
Forced sterilization,
Yeah.
forced organ donating,
Mm-hmm.
forced organ harvesting. I mean, they're committing genocide against these people. And that's where Hunter Biden was chilling and having a great time and got how many billions of dollars to invest? I mean, like, your government right now is disgusting, which brings me to another point. What is a friend? Right? What is a friend? A friend is somebody who you can trust, who you can rely on, and who works for the same goals as you do. Right? They don't purposefully work against you. Right? Meaning, if I am friends with something and I know something I'm about to do is going to harm somebody I care about, I'm not going to do it if I don't have to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Meaning, I'm not going to actively go out and work to destroy their life, their way of living, their belief process.
Right.
How can we be friends with Democrats? How can you? They work against every one of your freedoms. They are redefining what family is, your family. They are trying to make this hate speech. They're trying to make the Holy Bible hate speech.
Well, I think it's, we were just talking, Sarah was talking about teaching her friends that her kids that not everyone is a friend. And so I think, yes, your definition of kind of what is a friend, obviously that's going to be someone who's much more in line with your beliefs. I think we are still called to have some sort of interaction with people without those beliefs because we are trying to influence them to bring them to Jesus.
You can be friendly, but they're not your friends.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's, unless I think people are okay with different levels of friendship. They're okay with the more surface friendships that they have other things in common that they focus on rather than what they don't have in common. So I think it comes down to what are you wanting out of that relationship and what are your standards for friendship?
My standards are very high.
They are. And you have some great friends for it.
But it's, I see these people who they call them friends. Facebook calls them friends.
Oh, Facebook doesn't know anything, does it?
And my whole point with this is either you're working for the force of good or you're working for the force of evil. And if you're supporting China, right, or you're supporting people, like going out and supporting companies or people who are totally against you living your lifestyle the way that you need to, based off of this book, you might need to take a look in the mirror and have a long, hard talk with yourself. Are you being courageous in all aspects of your life? Are you confronting the untruths? Are you confronting the lies out there with the truth? And if you are, I guarantee you those people who say they're your friends are going to get pretty uncomfortable pretty quick, and they're not going to be around very much longer.
It doesn't leave as much to talk about, that's for sure.
Like, I mean, right now you're stuck with some people in your life that you struggle to even talk for 5 minutes on the phone with them.
Yeah. And I mean, the one person I would have called my closest friend up until several years ago, I don't really talk to as much anymore. There's just been a natural drifting because we do not have hardly anything in common anymore. Family members are harder to
right,
to manage those relationships. But yeah, friends, I think there's generally a mutual parting of ways. I think kind of as beliefs become kind of more on the surface and harder to avoid, in conversation or in a friendship dynamic, that naturally you kind of go your own ways. You say, okay, we just grew apart.
Yeah, it's like when somebody votes against my Second Amendment or my freedom of speech, they're voting for a death sentence for me and my family. Because before I will ever allow you to take those from me, I will die fighting for them.
Yeah, and they don't see that way, but yeah.
And that's what you all need to understand. Again, I'm not telling you to, I'm not telling you what to do with your life. I'm just telling you need to think about these things. Because let me tell you something. People who are out there who are the melting pot of, I've got all these Democrats and liberal friends and all this. I've never seen a solid Christian, morally principled person like that. They're all wishy-washy, and they're usually the most broken people of all.
The ones who are friends with
the ones who are like that. They don't have any convictions.
Or they're more willing to put them aside, which I guess isn't a conviction then, is it?
No. So votes against the Constitution, period. Exactly. They don't understand this, man. And that's why you got to choose, the way I treat friends are the family I choose to have. And I can choose anyone. I got to choose carefully. And that's what this community is about, is going out there and providing a place for people to see that, you're not every Christian is an uptight, not fun, not, have a sense of humor.
Can you guys go laugh and like his meme, please?
It's all right. Maybe it wasn't as good as I thought it was. I thought it was freaking hilarious. And I'm like, and it's clever. It was very subtle.
Too subtle, apparently, for some people.
Yeah.
They thought that you were applauding teachers, which that's not the crowd you want.
Yeah. I'm not the applaud the teachers. Although I did see a clip the other day. I guess some movie was made about some teacher who went into some impoverished neighborhood and turned things around. It was based on a true story. I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but it was really touching. None of them could read, none of them could do anything. And she kind of turned them around, I'm sure.
I think there are certainly, for as much kind of bashing you do of teachers unions and that industry as a whole, there are some amazing teachers out there who end up shaping and influencing people in incredibly positive ways. So that's certainly, but yes, as a whole, there are some issues going on.
Well, the left is misplaced compassion and emotional feelings taken to the infinity power. That's basically what it turns out to be, right? It's like most of them have pure motivations. They want to help.
Yeah.
The problem is that tough love is real, and that You know, if you people you got to understand there are consequences that you don't think about, and they enable an awful lot of bad stuff to happen. And trusting government to do everything for you is literally the worst idea ever. It's only been proven every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we back to the China article? One thing that struck me, I mean, so that these are actions that are being taken against people of faith to get them to renounce their faith. And that is the true as persecution gets. And
that's real persecution.
And we talk a lot now about how Christians are being persecuted in our country. And they are, in a sense, like we're getting cancel cultured and all of that.
Yeah, we're at a level 2, 3. They're a level 10
sense of the word. And it's truly humbling to see these actual stories that are coming out of a situation like this, what's going on in China, about what these people are enduring. And they're not all Christians, but they're enduring it in the name of
whatever their faith is.
But as a Christian, certainly I feel for the nuns, and they are refusing to give up Jesus Christ despite the horrors that they're enduring. And you have to read that and look at yourself and say, if I am put in the same situation, knowing and going through what they are describing here, I pray that I would have that same conviction.
Yeah.
And it's, that's I think something that we all need to look inside. I mean, that's the true persecution, and we may face it, but right now, I mean, if all we have to do is face some cancel culture and people don't want to hear about the Bible and stuff, we can handle that, guys.
Yeah. Well, look at all the companies that are doing business with China.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook,
mm-hmm.
Google,
mm-hmm.
Microsoft, Amazon,
mm-hmm.
all of them. They're all supporting that, and then they all want to morally judge the U.S.
Yeah.
Like, can't you guys see what's going on here? And what do you think will happen if China conquered the U.S.? If they're going to do that to their own people, what do you think they'll do to us?
Oh, yeah.
They have no respect for life.
Mm-hmm.
None.
Yeah.
I mean, the CCP is straight up evil incarnate.
By all accounts. Yeah. It's hard to wrap your mind around when you've lived in this nice American bubble and, never served or having to go across seas and see what life is like across in other cultures.
Yeah. And they just took over our country without firing a shot this last election. That's the most disgusting thing of it all.
Yeah. Well, and especially the way that they're dropping the re-education camp term around is for us Trump voters.
Yeah. I mean, we all need to be re-educated, right?
That's what these people are in. They're in re-education camps in China. And, so I guess it's just a couple steps removed, which is horrifying to think about.
Yep. So, well, that's the last of the dark topic there that I wanted to talk about. And I know that we've been going for a while here on a Monday night. We have some people who are still hanging strong with us. So if you want to support this program, we sure would appreciate it. You can like, share, comment, subscribe. You can go to our podcast page on Apple Podcasts, Patriot Crusader Mission over there, and give us a 5-star review. We appreciate that. You can also go to Patriot Crusader Mission /shop.
.com/shop.
.com, sorry, /shop. And you can pick up some swag, and we would greatly appreciate it. Or you can go to our Patreon page, Patriot Crusader Mission Patreon page, and go in there and support us there. We really, really appreciate it. You guys are allowing us to do this. We feel called to do this, and we're going to keep doing it. Until God tells us to do something else.
Yeah, we are trying to hear the directives as best we can. Thanks for joining us tonight, Steve, and it's great that you were part of the community now.
Yeah, and thanks for Steve. We got to toast Steve on Friday. He ordered another sweatshirt.
Another one.
Yeah. So
Steven, you're awesome.
Yep. So appreciate it. And you guys are all awesome. We love you, each and every one of you. I'm going to pray us, or Lauren's going to pray us out.
You didn't pray us in.
I know. So you better pray us
you're
out.
praying us out.
Okay.
It's your turn.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you now, and we're so thankful. We're so thankful for you, Lord, most of all, and your son, Jesus. We are thankful for our community. We're thankful for the people who have chosen to share their lives with us, lock shields with us to protect one another, Lord, invest in one another, and and say no further to the enemy. This is the line. We will go no further. Lord, we ask that you send out your Holy Spirit to our audience and protect them and to give them the healing that they may need where they're at. Lord, we ask that you strengthen them and bring them closer to you. We pray all these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. All right, everyone.
So Ken on Wednesday, maybe?
As far as I know.
And then Friday, get your drink on.
Well, I'm going to try to do my testimony tomorrow and post it by tomorrow night. So that'll be up there. I want to lead from the front and be the first to do that. Or I can just do it next Tuesday and we'll start that next Tuesday, I think.
We have a house to get ready to sell.
Yeah.
We'll be listed on Friday if you know of anyone who wants a house in Earlysville.
With the best realtor ever, Candace Vanderlinda.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you.
God bless.
God bless.